welcome to My Divorce Real Estate. I'm Amber Gifford, and this is
Scotty Gifford.
We are divorce real estate specialists here in Houston, Texas, and today we're going to talk about what is community property. What is community property? But first, we need to tell them most importantly.
Most importantly, we wanted to say that we are not attorneys, and
No.
you should seek legal advice from an attorney. But we're going to give you a little bit of discussion about what community property is as we live in Texas, which is a community property state.
Yes, we are in a community property state. So let's give a little story. Maybe we should use ours.
Okay.
It's kind of a good one, right?
Sure, that's actually a good
We've been
example.
through everything. We did it all backwards the second time, which worked out to our benefit.
Yeah.
But so we were dating, not engaged yet. That was the plan. And we decided to buy a home together. So we bought a home together and what?
So we took possession of the property as essentially joint tenants in common with survivorship, essentially, right? So it's not a community property.
Right. So when we purchased the home, we both were on the note and we both were on the deed. A lot of times we get calls from people that are going through a divorce. I'm like, okay, do you own a home? When did you purchase it? Are you on the note or the deed? And they're like, huh? A lot of times they don't even know. So typically you're on the note if you have income and you use your income to qualify for the loan to purchase the home. So we both were on the note for our home. And both of us are on the deed because we own it together. So it turned into marital property. But essentially, let's say we didn't get married.
Yeah, if we still weren't married, then it wouldn't be community property because we weren't married, and it would just be, we'd both own 50% of the property, right?
Right. So it would have been, and then what if you owned multiple or a house before we got together?
So any property that I owned before is considered separate property, right? So if I had bought this house first and then Amber moved in, then it would still be my separate property, right? Now, a lot of people want to think this is where it gets kind of muddied and, you need to seek legal advice on this, but this is where it gets kind of muddy is, so when she moves in, if she doesn't make any contribution to the home at all and she's not paying anything at all, then it would, it's 100% separate property, no questions. But when she starts making mortgage payments or contributing towards the household, that's when you can get what would be still considered separate property, but you might have
equitable interest. And let's be really clear here. You can't just go, oh, I have equitable interest. When we say you're now married to this person, or maybe you didn't get married and you're now separating everything because you no longer are going to be together, but you have equitable interest, you have to have a strong file of when you contributed, how much you contributed, where it was deposited from your account. It can't be from his account to you. You know what I'm saying? It has to be really marked very clearly. So you very well could have equitable interest in a home that was separate property to your boyfriend, spouse, whatever, because you contributed to it. But you have to really be able to prove up how much you contributed so they can take that into an account.
Yeah, so it's all going to come down to, dates and proof and, checks or whatever you can show that you actually did contribute to that, property or whatever, because otherwise it's just going to remain separate property. Because if I had this house before and then she moves in and she, what proof do you have that you made some mortgage payments, or what proof do you have that you contributed?
And even if you marry and they still had that property before you and they still have it, it doesn't mean it's yours if he passes away.
Yeah.
So it's always separate property unless you have a will that states that it's going to X person.
Yeah, so getting a will if you're not married would be, advisable, and getting a will if you are married would be advisable too, especially if you have separate properties that were from
acquired before you were together. For sure.
Yeah.
So we do have a scary story too of a client. You want to tell quick about that? You know who I'm talking about?
Which client?
Well, we've had a few, but the one in particular that moved into the home and did all the repairs.
Yeah. We did have a client that contacted us that they were home shopping together and they were looking at a home to purchase for once they got married. But they weren't married at the time, and the wife
she purchased
the home with her funds, and then they got married, a week or two later. So she closed on the property, and it ends up being, that it didn't work out for them.
But there was a lot of there was a lot of rehab.
Yeah,
Sorry.
This situation, she actually never moved the property because they were doing some rehab to the property, and he was
a lot of rehab.
He was actually, out footing a lot of this bill of rehabbing the property, right? So he had a lot of interest in this property.
But he wasn't on the note and he wasn't on the deed. Mm-mm. And in the end, he ended up not being able to have the funds to fight for his equitable interest, even though it might have been just right for him to do that.
Yeah, I do believe personally that he did have some equitable interest in the property and he could have fought for that, but that's going to cost, some money to fight those things, right? Because it was separate property because she brought it before they got married.
Right.
And so you have to prove that it's not separate property, essentially, right?
So this, again, if you're coming in midway or zoomed on, is for Texas community property state. So we just want to give you a little lowdown on community property and separate property in case you're in that situation. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, we're here to bring you real life experiences to all your real estate needs.